Hello, beautiful souls. You are listening to Starfire, Elemental Alchemy and Zodiac Power Podcast.
where we are dedicated to transforming lives through the fusion of elemental alchemy and zodiac wisdom. Our mission is to empower individuals to harness their inner strength and cosmic alignment, creating profound shifts in energy and unlocking the true power of their astrological and elemental essence. My name is Cami, and I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Tracy, your other host. Let's get to it. Hello, Miss Cami.
Good morning, Miss Tracy. I'm so excited to be here with you. Oh my gosh. You guys, we are sitting together on a beautiful, beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest, actually hanging out in the same space. This is only our second time doing that, and I am really excited about being able to talk Sagittarius in the same proximity because I think we have a lot to say about it.
And not just that we're in the same room, but we look like real podcasters because we actually have microphones and headphones and like you guys, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. We're so excited.
We've arrived.
It's only taken us to Sagittarius. It's fine. It's no big deal. We are
Virgo. Virgo got us going.
the Virgo. Yeah, I think it did. Absolutely. So, what do you have to say about Sagittarius? What are the things that you, just as we are landing here today, about A, do you know anyone that is a Sagittarius? Or B, do you have anything, do you have Sagittarius in your own chart that you might be able to identify it with?
I don't know what's going on with my Sagittarius in my chart, but I have never heard it come up with any discussions of like North Node or South Node or anything like that. So, um, not really in my chart as I'm aware of, but we're just realizing one of my best friends growing up, she's a Sagittarius. She is October 20th. So she might have a little bit Libra coming through as well, but I haven't even cracked that nut yet. So I don't have anything to say. I don't think she's a typical Sag. Like I said, she's an enigma. I don't know what her deal is.
Isn't it?
She's a horse lady.
Okay. Well, but if she's on the 20th, she might not be Sag because it should be on the 22nd. So she's really going to present as a Libra versus that, I would assume. But again, I
Oh,
don't,
that's true. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having it wrong. I'm getting the dates wrong.
if she's on November
So she has
20th,
Libra.
if she's November 20th,
Oh, no. She is October 20th. So maybe she is Libra.
she's a
She's Libra
she's
on the cusp of Scorpio.
on the cusp.
There
Yeah.
we go. Okay.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
sounds more like her. So let's not talk about her. Forget her.
Sorry, friend. Sorry,
I
friend.
love you. I love you. We should have talked about you in Libra, but we didn't. So I do know one Sagittarius. So it's not somebody I know well. It's like a brother of somebody. And I always think he is such a typical Sag because every time, you only see them here or there, birthday party or whatever, he would be into something completely new and be very deep into it. And I remember he would do like those silent retreats. And
Before they were the cool thing to do.
before I would love to go to
Me
a
too.
silent retreat. Oh,
For real.
for real. And so I think about him a lot because that's a very Sagittarius nature in that they feel that need to fly. They are the arrow. They're the arrow. That's what they're depicted as, the archer. But I remember when I was learning about it, the teacher really tried to point out it's not the archer, it's the arrow itself.
Yeah, it's not the bow. Yeah, it's not the bow or the archer. It is that. Yeah, and once I realized it's my north node, and so it's like absolutely everything going in that direction towards that, and how I am always wanted to be a traveler. I've always wanted to just pick up and go and not have ties anywhere. Like if the wind would take me, I would be able to just pick up and go on that trip and then go on that trip. I mean, a couple of years ago, back in 2018, I had an opportunity to go on a cruise with people that I had literally met at a like maybe three or four different parties I'd gone to with these people. But it wasn't my party. It was like friends of a friend, and they ended up inviting me to go on this cruise with them because they had an extra ticket and they couldn't fill it and they couldn't get it refunded. So they're like, "You have a free ticket to go on a cruise to to Mexico with us, and there's 12 of us that are going, and are you open to it?" And I was like, yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't get onto the cruise ship and things with only people that I've only met once or twice.
I would do it.
100%, 100%. So, but I actually am friends with them, and I had met them through Tim, and so it was just really fun because they knew that I was a really expressive. I was independent. I would be able to not be like, oh, I have to be in every single thing that you guys are doing. I would be adventurous. I would make new friends. I made friends with literally every single person probably on that boat for the week that I was on this cruise. And they put me in a room with someone that had special needs and that I would be able to tend and help. And so they knew that that part of me, of that character, and yeah, and it was so fun, and it was the first time I'd ever been on a trip without my partner or my husband, and really being in that expansive expression of who I am and how I show up. And I'm still friends with people that I met on that ship, on that cruise, because I just was like this wanderer. That is how I roll.
I love that. And you are using all these words that like expansion, and it is ruled by Jupiter.
Yeah.
And Jupiter is the gas planet. It is ever expanding. And so, what did you see? I can't ignore your face.
As she was talking, I decided to pull her chart because right before we started on this podcast, I was like, "Oh, I wonder if you have anything in your chart." She's like, "I don't know if it's there." You have your Jupiter is 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Your Uranus is 8 degrees of Sagittarius, and your Neptune is 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So you have three planets in Sag.
I have like the farthest away planets,
Yeah,
well, except for Pluto. The far, like some of the farthest planets
yeah,
in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. So no wonder I'm always in the clouds and like way out in the ethers.
yeah. No wonder.
That makes a lot of freaking sense.
And you're also your Mercury is in Aquarius, which is also in the ethers. Sorry.
Whew.
Um, so yeah, all of it making so much sense.
That
Go ahead.
makes sense. Yeah. I love the Jupiter expansive energy. I'm a Jupiter ruled Pisces. And I think Pisces can be ruled by Neptune or Jupiter, but I believe I'm a Jupiter ruled Pisces.
Wow. Okay. Really, I'm gonna have to look into
Yeah,
that.
let's not go down
Yeah.
this road because
No.
this is like calling on some other lessons that I did. I'm like, I don't have anything to back that up except for just coming to that conclusion through that one lesson that I can't repeat. Okay.
Here we are. Here we are.
Yeah. But let's talk about some of the things that make Sagittarius is like that. So first, it's fire. So that's definitely the willpower, our strength tied to our destiny. It's that fight within us.
It's also our higher selves. It's our passion. It's our purpose. It's how we creative energy. The fire is the thing that, as we talked about in the very beginning, Aries is that spark that starts everything, right? And then Leo is the one that's out here in the just I'm gonna be a showboat. And then Sagittarius, now we're coming to the completion of all of the signs on the wheel, and we're in that mutable. So we're able to be a little bit more flowy and more free flowing, and that is where like the wind can take you, or it's the ember, it's the spark that has been like going for the wildfire that's going to just be able to the ember that goes up into the sky and then just lands in like miles and miles and miles away. Like that's kind of how I feel about with Sagittarius.
I love that. The ember of the from the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so perfect. Well, what I think of when I think of Sagittarius is I go over my little things. I'm like, fire, the gift is fire in the mutable mode, which is fire in the soul. And so that is, how do I expand upon this element? How do I expand upon my soul? That's why they're so in need of pushing themselves outside their boundary or outside their comfort zone and their boundaries sometimes, because they want to see what will happen when they take everything away that makes them comfortable. And maybe not everything, but it has to be a soulful friction. That is the gift of fire. It's friction. So if we go back to Aries, that's fire in the mind. So it's the mind versus the mind and friction. I'm going to argue your point. I'm going to argue, the narratives of society. I'm going to argue with authority. That's Aries. I have to friction. Then we have Leo, which is in the body, fire in the body. So now we're thinking about, who am I in this world? So now I have to put myself up against you. I have to have the friction of who I am up against you. And so Leos, they come off as cocky, but really they're just very brave in that way, that they just show themselves all of it. They're like, I just have to put who I am, everything about who I am up in your face right now. But then we get to the soul aspect. When fire comes into the soul, then it's more about, what is the comparison between who I am and who I've been and who I am on a soulful level and who my higher self is? How does that relate to how I'm showing up in the world? And that's why that friction comes in. They have to have that friction of the soul to try something new, get out of it, because it's the fight that brings the ignite.
Oh, I like
Right?
that.
Aries feels that the way to redemption, the way to his awakening, is through arguing what's out there in the world. Leo needs to argue from himself and just be in the world and expressing in the world. The Sagittarius has to have friction within to see where it all lands. And there's a bravery in that too. I would say the fire signs are they come off as the bravest, because
Just to,
it's
yeah.
the ballsiest,
Yeah.
they really challenge. They're not afraid of that friction. But I always remember, think about this: fire, we're associated with Mars, which is the fiery planet. The element would be iron. Fire is associated with our blood. There's iron in our blood. How do you sharpen iron? Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Friction.
Friction.
The fight that brings the ignite. Aries wants it out there. Leo wants it for himself, and Sagittarius wants it for its soul.
Yeah. Mm, that is so good. No wonder that, like, as you're talking about the truth seekers, and so thinking about that of like finding the truth within, like constantly looking and feeling into it. They're the most feeling of, I would say, of the fire signs too. More aware of their internal narrative. Maybe that's part of the mutable side part of it. I don't really know, but
And that they're philosophical
the
probably
phil
too.
yeah.
So they understand a little bit more.
So it's like they've taken it from the mind, they've brought it into the body, and now they're in the soul, and now they're like being able to have that conversation, and probably, yeah, like I just feel like they are very embodied. I know Leo, that's part of their challenge and their gift is to be embodied. And I think a lot of them struggle with that. And I think by the time that you get to Sagittarius, it's already there, like it's landed. They don't have to think about it anymore. It's just that's who they are and how they show up on the planet. If you're in a healthy Sagittarius space, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what would you say would be a negative thing that you could see or talk about with Sagittarius? Not necessarily negative. We've
Right, but
talked
out
about
of
this, not
balance.
good or bad, or
Well, for one, so if we just, I haven't thought about this. So if we just kind of break down, let's go down and work our way through it. So Sagittarius, they need to go on that silent retreat. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be uncomfortable in their bed. It might be like a luxurious silent retreat, but there's going to be parts that's going to challenge them internally, and that's what they're looking for. And so if that's their lot in life, if there's too much of that, every time we're going through these signs, I feel like it's constantly an issue of self-worth and where you're placing it. And so Virgo was just placing their self-worth at the end of their perfect execution of their program, whereas Sagittarius is putting their self-worth after doing something that has to be really hard. And sometimes that can come out as self-inflicting pain because they're going to put themselves through something because they're so connected to it having to be hard and they have to be uncomfortable. And you get things that are just really extreme. And so you get really extreme religious issues that come up, either leaving a church or joining a church. You get really harsh eating habits that come on. Now there's a strict vegan, or they're really into something else. And so it's almost an addictive way of things coming out because they're so tied to it that it becomes the thing in front of their self-worth instead of recognizing, setting some intention, setting some goals, and really understanding what they're going for. That's why if we look at the opposite side of the wheel, we have Gemini, mutable air. And, air signs are very fiery. Fire signs are very witty and very, in their mind and philosophical as well, right? We see that a lot with Sagittarius. And so for Sagittarius, they need a little bit more of that balance. They need a little bit more of that, like, hold on, what are we diving into and why? That's where I think it can get tricky. But then if we don't have enough of that, then we're wallowing around and we're never pushing ourselves and we're hiding.
And we're not taking the action step to move forward. So then it's just going to constantly just be a internal conflict that's going back to yourself, never taking the action forward. Really, I think the thing that always shows up with me for Sagittarius is that arrow is like, that is the step. Take the step, do the thing. Because once you do that one thing, then you can go forward, continue to go forward with that. But that's like, again, we just came out of Virgo, and it was like laying everything out. And here we go into Sagittarius, and now we're going to take that next step again and move into the next season and next time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's go time. And I think about if we picture an actual arrow, if you just shoot an arrow out into nowhere, it might have a very far journey and end up in a very different place. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the place it ended up was what we intended. And so having a target, I think, is so important for Sagittarius because often they can get into the wheel of, I have to go, I have to do this big thing. And then when they arrive, if they didn't really have intention of what they were striving for, then it's like, I did all this for nothing. And either we have to make a whole nother big effort, or there's the soulful depression and
I was just going to say I was just going to say, in regards to the people that I know that are Sagittarius sun signs, um, there's a lot of perfectionism. There's a lot of, I've got to do this thing and I've got to look a certain way. And if I don't do it this certain way, then I am not worthy of that. And so, yes, there is depression. There's a lot of internal dialogue that I'm not good enough. I can't expand on this because this has been the way that I've been doing it for so long, because this is what I thought that I needed to do. And to make a pivot is really hard for them sometimes, I think, which is interesting to me now that we're talking about it being a mutable sign, because as you all know, we are mutable Pisces, and we're really easy going, really go with the flow. A lot of things aren't set in stone. Like, yes, we can be very, rigid in certain things in certain areas of our lives, but mostly we just kind of allow life to just kind of, happen, and we get to adjust to it. Sagittarius sun signs that I know can be that with adventure and with things like going outward, but when it comes to themselves, they don't pivot very easily. It's like I at this perfectionism side of them that really shows up, and if it doesn't look that way that they have thought that it was supposed to be, then they're not going to make that pivot. Um, Again, this is a really general thing based off of the people that I know, but I'm curious about that. I can't wait to see if we have people in our circle when we come to Sagittarius. If there's actually, I know one of them that would be in there, and she's always looking in for an adventure. It's B. And so, but I'd be curious to see how it feels for her in her body, because I know she has an internal perfectionism that doesn't allow her to take that action step when it's on the inside versus an adventure based off of travel.
you know what I'm seeing when you're saying all this is I feel like there's a theme with all mutable signs of perfectionism.
Yeah.
of
Oh,
of performance, right?
yeah.
So Gemini just constantly heart and mind, right? Going back and forth. And that's a perfectionism. I need to make the right choice. That's their problem. They have to make that's what I think they get hung up on is I have to make the right choice. And then they get in their head and then they go back and forth, but then the heart cries out what it wants. And that's where they get, what's the perfect answer? And their lesson is there's no perfect answer. It's just your answer. That 10 of Swords. Shit.
Shit. Oh, shit.
And then we have the mutable Earth. We just talked about Virgo. I mean, totally that it's the perfect program. It's the way that they do the things in the world, right? Because that's that Earth element. So they have to have the perfect program. We have us, the mutable Pisces, but we feel our emotions. We get bummed out if our emotions are bummed out. We're like, oh no, what's wrong with us? Why are we sad? And then that can catapult and snowball on itself. Whereas other signs are a little bit easier to be like, oh, that's just an emotion. I'll rationalize out of that. I'll go work out and get through that. We're like, oh my God, we had a bad thought.
And now it's stuck
Yeah.
in all parts.
Oh my God. Yes.
Now I'm here and I don't know what to do with all these emotions. And I'm
Yes.
sad or I'm happy or I'm mad, but I don't know how to be mad and I don't know how to do the things. And now and why am I crying at Schitt's Creek last night? Like for real, I did. I love
Hey,
that
they
show.
tug on the heartstrings. They make a good show. But yeah, so I'm seeing this theme that it's all this like it's a perfectionism. We want to constantly feel good all the time. And for Sagittarius, it wants that ignite that comes from the fight. They want to have that big, and things have to be big.
Yeah.
They have to have big philosophies, big ideas. They have to go on big journeys. They have to take big bites out of life. Like it just has to be big. It's go big or go home.
Yeah.
And that can be, again, a recipe for success and also put you in this wheel of constantly trying and failing
Yeah.
until you learn the lesson of all mutable signs that it's all just what you want to do, baby girl.
It's all what you want to do. I love that we just had that epiphany about that. Yeah. And also the go big or go home. How perfect is that that Jupiter is the ruling planet? And how perfect is that the thing it's just all about expansion. Big, big.
Yes, and we keep saying wheel, and
Oh
Wheel
yeah.
of Fortune is one of the tarot cards we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
that.
I think we could probably go in there. Oh, one of the things I had here of like the opposition, I guess, is they can be impulsive. They can
Yes.
be non-committal or harsh. They can come off really sharp. The point of that arrow can come off really sharp.
Ooh.
Overindulgent. So again, it's like, oh, I'm gonna keep hitting that dopamine hit. I want to go on another trip. I'm gonna be an adventurer. I'm gonna go backpacking across the world. I'm gonna like, there's constantly that dopamine hit for the next thing, the next big
Yeah.
thing to
Expand.
expand. And then they're never sitting in their shit, like literally.
Right.
They're constantly running from it. Um, and self-righteous, they can come off as kind of self-righteous as I am a philosophical person, I am this really adventurous kind of person, and I'm worldly, like I know everything about all the different places that I go, and that can come off as like, oh, you're a know-it-all.
Fire. I mean,
Fire.
Aries and Leo also, they get
Yeah.
called arrogant quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that that's really it. Oh, we did want to talk about the house. We're
Yes, I
in
was just gonna
house
say.
number 9, which is the house of adventure and higher learning. So again, that makes a lot of sense with everything else that we've been talking about. And now, as we have been going through the wheel, I guess, and been talking about these, it's really interesting how each one of the houses match 100% match what is in that sign. So Sagittarius, it's all about that.
Hmm.
And as people are looking at, whatever is in whatever house, you start to have a little bit better understanding of that expansion that is being asked of you. If you have something you have a placement in your chart in the ninth house, what is
That's
that?
where you'll be adventurous.
That's where you're going to be adventurous. So is that going to be,
Right.
yeah,
So like if Cancer was in the ninth house, Cancer, who's about family, in an adventurous house would mean that maybe you're like a caravanning family,
Yeah.
because that's where you seek your adventure, is within your family life.
Yours is in your moon is in your ninth house.
Oh my
And
God, which is why I kind of want to go on soulful journeys all the time.
you're,
That's where I seek my adventure.
yeah. Aren't you Scorpio? Right? No.
Wait, for what?
Your moon. No, your
My
moon is
moon
a
is,
Gemini.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
Your
moon
moon is,
Gemini?
yeah, your
Yes, moon
is in
Gemini. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I lost what you were saying because there's so many things.
This is what
What?
happens, squirrel. You're in the ninth house, expansion.
Oh, yes, the moon.
Gemini, learning, communicating, having as much information as you possibly can have. That bigger, more books.
Yes, yes, as I was knitting yesterday, and I was like, I need to make time to learn how to sew too.
Of course you do.
As I'm taking time off of my crafty business, which is macrame and earrings and tarot and the astrology circles. It's and sound. And so then I was taking a break so that I could knit, so that I could make time also to learn how to sew.
So here's a perfect example of the ninth house, her moon in her ninth house, and more.
More.
Always insatiable need for that,
Mm,
right?
that makes a lot of sense. I love it.
I love
And
it.
it's I seek, we seek,
We seek.
we
We
seek.
seek. Yes. And so, and then also with the mutables, remember, it's how do we embrace this expansion? So, a good question that if you are a Sagittarius or if you have Sagittarius anywhere in your chart, how do you embrace that part of you that wants to expand? You know, and not hold yourself within a box. They may be someone that has a really hard time staying in one place for a really long time, staying in one job for a really long time, because they're constantly wanting to evolve and constantly wanting to be bigger than where they're at. And so, how can you embody that and embrace that and listen to your soul's calling of, is that I want to be an adventurer and, you know, travel the world and backpack across all the different mountains ranges, but then how do you bring that in and then share from that space versus it just being an expansion and just keep going, which is then running away from all of the things, but being able to expand and then retreat, embrace, and embody.
And it's the idea of the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
Grass is always greener on the other side. And that's where the Sagittarius gets, sold every time. And they're like, ooh, it looks good over there. And I think what's for me must be over there. And again, putting that self-worth or what they're looking for, the answer to their problems outside of us. Instead of having that intention to say, I'm going to do this with this clear intention of gaining, releasing, understanding, whatever. But when they just kind of go out there because they're looking for the world to show them their worth and to give them the experience that to them will be their permission ticket to then elevate to another level, that's when we get on the wheel, because we'll never, it's the carrot, right?
Yeah.
We'll never actually get that because the worth is always coming from within.
Yeah.
Well, should we read Stephen Forrest?
Yeah.
Now that we've talked so much, this will be really fun. So, Sagittarius, the archer, element fire, the mode mutable, archetypes. He's got the gypsy, the student, and the philosopher. That makes a lot of sense. Here's a little quote. It is not entertainment I am seeking. It is understanding. Understanding, and more understanding. I will stuff myself with it. Stiff it up with every pore. Stiff it up where? Sniff it up with every pore. Cram it into every orifice. Someday it will pay off. Everything will fall into proper place, and I will at last understand. I think that brings in like the desperation, that the Sagittarius can get into. I need to do it. I've got to go. It's what is for me.
So it's calling me. It's coming from within. It's the soul's calling.
The soul's calling. It says the symbol Not the archer, but the arrow. Fingers quivering with tension, the marksman releases the taut string. The curve of the bow snaps back, sending the feathered shaft darting into space. The arrow. It flies faster than sight, whipping through the air, speeding towards the clouds. If it had eyes, it would see the archer's form grow tiny, fading to an insignificant speck in the landscape, and it would see that landscape laid out like a map, simple and schematic. If that arrow were suddenly given a mind, what thoughts would occupy it? Like a man on a mountain peak, it would think thoughts of perspective and experience, driven by exuberance. Who fired me into this luminous sky, and for what purpose? What is my place here? Where am I going? What is the reason for my existence? And then I'm not going to read everything, but we have the end point: actions that expand awareness through the gathering of unfamiliar experience. So the archer's endpoint is to realize the ultimate meaning of life, to find one's destiny in the cosmic things of things, to arrive at the truth. Those are the goals, the truth. The strategy: remain open to foreign ways of thinking. Look at life from a different point of view. Interesting. Which is what Gemini is so freaking good at. Why we call them the devil's advocate and get so annoyed with them.
But how good is that? Because that's the balancer, right? Like that's the opposition.
It has to grasp the wholeness of life and define our place within it. And the philosopher's intuitive leap must be fueled by experience. The archer's strategy in a word is to live life as an adventure. He must surrender all notions of safety. He must willingly set aside any idea or opinion as soon as he sees himself hiding behind it. He must go unhesitatingly forward, expecting miracles, forever ready to perform that classic Sagittarian masterstroke, the leap of faith. It reminds me of what you were saying. You're like, that's my North Node, and that's what you're trying to do, is to stop rationalizing yourself out of it and stop just thinking I can't, and just go.
Yeah.
Without
100%. And once I realized that it was my North Node, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And if I can embrace that, trusting the intuition that I already have, and just knowing, like, I get into my head, and that's not what Sagittarius are asking, to just take that leap of faith. Absolutely.
Yes. And we're looking at resources, definitely the faith, the level of principle. But when we look at the shadow, he may put too much trust in the strength of those rickety steps. That's what we were saying. Like, he's putting in that self-worth in what he's doing. This is what holds my permission slip. He may pass on a blind curve. He may follow some self-appointed guru to a mass grave, all in the name of faith.
That's what we were talking about too with the religion,
Yeah.
or yeah.
And then just more for this shadow, what he said here. I'll just read this last one. Robust faith, a sense of humor, a willingness to take a plunge. Those traits help us live more fully, and the archer has them all. But unless they are balanced by a sense of how frail and fleeting our lives are, and an awareness of how easily the spark can go out of them, bright, spirited Sagittarius can become the sign of tragedy.
Oh.
So maybe I think you're so expansive, you're not grounded, and you're not valuing the life. And I can see that because like, I'm thinking about this person I was saying, who seems like such a Sagittarius, would put so much heart and effort to something and then just casts it away because he needs to go on to the next thing. And I can see that as like where it's an accumulation of everything, a building upon everything, right? So I kind of just thought about that in reading that last bit.
Yeah, I just think like that's kind of what I was saying, of like going on the next adventure, the next adventure, the next adventure. And if you don't, as a Sagittarius or even as a human, it doesn't even matter, based off of the signs, really, what we've continued to talk about and what continues to show up, no matter what sign we're in, is coming back to yourself, coming home, coming back home. So when you go on that adventure, when you learn something new, instead of just continuing to have that insatiable need to fill, or run, it is to come home, stop, be present. Be present within yourself. Be present with the information that you just received. Be present with the land that you just stepped on. Having a relationship with that space that you're wandering with,
Mm.
and being able to ground into that, and then feel. And there goes our mutable waters. Then feel into what has called you here. Now let reflect, like be here, not just continue to do the thing. The leaping of faith is great. It allows us to continue to move forward, but we can bypass so much if we don't come home in each moment.
Right. If we don't come home between each moment, I think that's really well put. And that made me lose what I was going to say because I love how you put that.
Thank you. I'm sorry for making you lose your thought, but
Well, what I was going to say, I think, when we look at the balancing, it's always the same mode, just in that balancing element. Fire and air go together, earth and water go together. So whatever mode you are, if, you just look to your opposite, uh, look to the opposite balancing element, and it's going to be the same mode. But I would say that the lessons from all mutable mode signs would be helpful for a mutable mode person. And we've said this before, I don't think enough uh emphasis goes on the mode because it really is the vehicle we're riding in. Like it really is a big part of how we're doing life. And a mutable mode person just isn't going to really get on board with that of a cardinal sign. It's just going to feel way too focused, way too limited, way too dense of an energy. And it's really hard for those cardinal signs to let it go into a mutable way. And so even though we're looking at Gemini, that opposing element, great. I think the lessons like you just kind of ran through, all the mutable signs, is what would be helpful for any other, in this case, Sagittarius.
yeah, I think that the modes, I had no idea how important they were until we started talking. And I had been doing astrology for a year before and still didn't understand the vehicle. Like, this is an important part. And so when we do talk about that and say mutable earth or mutable water or mutable fire, it is the language that we speak, and the thing that happens so naturally for us. And so when remembering that, yeah, we don't feel the same way as the cardinal sign in any way, shape, or form. It's a stretch for us. And that is just for you to be able to understand that more about yourself, of like, oh, that's why I don't do so well with that particular thing if I am an immutable sign or versus a cardinal sign or a fixed. Fixed are going to stay more planted. They're going to always stay more rooted, right,
Mm.
in what they want or what they know. And we are going to be able to just flow and then kind of land and stay, but it's not, we're not going to get anchored down. They're not going to be able to just go with the flow as easy as we do. So it's like just understanding that about yourself, about your partner. Like if you are able to look at your chart of finding out what mode you're in, what sign you're in for your sun sign, it really does make a difference to understand the people that you're talking to. Because whether or not, you might have another water sign, but if it's not a mutable water sign, as in Pisces, it's not going to feel the same.
Absolutely.
So, why don't we go into the tarot, because we have talked a lot about Sagittarius. I think we could probably talk for hours about this because it feels really good. But we need to share about the tarot. And one of the things I need to give a shout out to you, truly. And I know that I would love to receive words of affirmations. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
But really, the shout out that I want to say is that I didn't know barely anything about tarot. I mean, I did. It was so basic before us working together. But the inclusion of the tarot in our circles has been something that has allowed me to understand more about the tarot, and the supporting allies that we have, but it has allowed every single person that has been in that room to have a better understanding of the tarot and of the elements and of the planets and how expansive that this language is. And I don't think many people talk about this. And so I think we're really unique in the fact that we have had an ability to bring our magics together, talk about all of the things that we talk about, and expand upon. So here we are in Sagittarius, being able to continue to expand and grow. And yeah, I know that the people that are showing up are really, really, really interested in learning more and more and more about tarot, and whether or not it's from a reading or not, it's now like it's embodying the tarot within. So I just am really grateful for you.
Well, thank you. I'm equally having a great time. I'm learning astrology a lot better now. And also, what we didn't realize, I mean, we were going to look at the associations between the tarot and the astrology, but little did we know that it's actually a freaking map guiding you right along. Like, who knew? Treasure seekers here. We're like, oh my God, we cracked the code. So it's been really fun, and really, it's unfortunate that these tools were taken from people so long ago, because the point is not divinity. It's not to know what's coming down the pipeline. That is just the pony show to get your money. What it is it's helpful for you to understand yourself, to check in with yourself so that you can be the master of your own creation. And when you have these tools that lay it out so nicely, it's nothing to fear. And honestly, I don't think that really the way of the future is not going to people for tarot readings. It's reading your own cards, checking in with yourself, with your own magic, and that is in every sign a very rooting down practice for everybody to check in with yourself, like work on your own tools, find your own magic. We live in a world with so many gurus, and I think that it is very helpful to learn from other people's experiences and to gain from their lessons. But that does not mean that we do not hold anything of value within ourselves, and that we have to get all these certifications and do all these classes and work with all these people if we want any kind of healing or awakening within ourselves.
I agree. Can I say something on
Yeah.
that? Okay. One of the things as to why I hadn't moved forward in doing any of this stuff was that I didn't have the certification. I didn't have the education behind it. And so my mind is like, well, then there isn't value there. But then knowing, doing circle, being around these people, understanding that we have a knowledge that we're just trying to share. We're just trying to share and expand on that for people to understand who they are. It is our gift to them. And that has been the part of it about, yeah, getting a tarot reading may or may not be something that everybody wants, but it is something that is going to be able to anchor them in to the embodiment, because this is the roadmap. This is literally, hey man, so you do a great thing that you talk about in circle about what tarot really means to you, about being the roadmap, and how it showed up for you or for people. But I think that that was part of the gift of these cards, and I am sad that they were taken away. But I think that we're in a new paradigm, and I think people are more and more understanding of that this isn't associated with, the devil. I'm so sorry.
Devil's part of it, but not the way we
I
think of
know,
it.
not in the way that we think about it, right? It's not, but it's not good or bad. It's not about the religious side of things. It is, here is the roadmap for humanity. You have this here for you forever. Use it.
Right. Absolutely. And I was just thinking in the idea we were talking about, working with people. I not to take away from anybody's amazing programs who charge a lot of money because they're so sought after, they kind of have to bring money into it because they just simply can't serve all those people. I get that, and I think there's worth there. But now we're getting a lot, and it's a very Sagittarius thing, right? To get pulled into the idea that, well, if I go and spend 5 grand on this retreat or do this certification, then that's my permission ticket. Then I'll be able to. And no doubt you'll learn things from people, and there's always worth in investing, and you're supporting somebody else. But the only reason that they're actually being able to teach anything is because they did the work themselves every single day, or however, whenever it was, they committed to using the practices in which they preach. So you as a student, yes, there's something to learn, absolutely, but don't get into a negative, unbalanced Sagittarius mind where you think that it's the proof is in the actual paper just because you sat through all those Zoom meetings and participated. If you're not actually doing whatever you're learning on a day-to-day ritualistic way with intention and holding yourself accountable, there's nothing. And so I think about, actually, so one of my friends got called out on this not too long ago, where they're like, what are your certifications for teaching all this? And she's teaches sound, and she's like, my teachings are my life. I went through hard things and I found myself. I found strength in my voice. I found strength in my own wisdom, that I turned everything else off and I listened and I grew and I got here. And you're asking me because you can feel it. You can feel. That's my dog at the door. I'll go let her in. And that's what we're losing. And again, I'm not taking anything away from people who have studied something and been embodying something for so long, because yes, you do have the right to teach and share that with other people. And when you're so popular, money is a way to organize who gets to do it. But do not think that you cannot learn, expand, and grow. Sagittarius, if you're out there sitting right in your living room,
Right.
it's possible. And that's what tarot does. And setting the zodiac, it lets us do that. Let me go get my doggy. Put up. Go lay down. Or you lay down up here, but you leave us alone. All right.
So because this is not a live video, we're going to say 46. And I was going to try to make it be a big influx.
Well, you might hear a little dog. Hold on. Get up here and sit. Get up here. All right, we'll just come back in. It's fine. Okay, we're back, everybody, and we have Luna here who's making noise, but that's okay.
That's okay, because you know what? Again, let's just let it be.
Let it
It
be.
is, we're real life people. We are not fake, and we're not perfect in any way, shape, or form. We are trying this out for the first time of being in a in Tracy's house. And so yeah, Looney is gonna be here and potentially be loud at some time, and that's okay too. She's such a sweet dog, and so we need her energy in the room anyway.
She's excited.
All right, so we're going to talk tarot.
We're going to talk tarot. So the main card associated with Sagittarius is the Temperance card, card number 14. And it shows a woman. She looks like an angel. She's got big wings. She's got the spikes around her head, kind of like a halo. She's got a dress on. She's got a triangle on her shirt, and then she has two chalices in her hands, and she's pouring water from one to the other, and she is standing on the side of what looks like a river. And so what I like to say about this card is all in due time, because she's just pouring from one to the next to the next. And so there's a trust and a bravery there of allowing things to unfold. But the triangle on her chest is fire. So there's a fiery spirit there. And if we think about 14, the 1 and the 4 adds up to 5, which is the Hierophant. So there's a very spiritual connection to the purpose of the temperance. It is, and that is kind of the beautiful side of Sagittarius, is recognizing that there is a time that we do have to invest, that there is all in due time. They're willing to do that. That's what you need to go to a silent retreat, is to have patience, is to go, I know it's hard in this moment, but if I can be patient and hold the cup steady and really make sure that I can pour this from one cup to the next, it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it. So I can see that. We can look in what do you know anything with the temperance card? Have you read anything up on it? I can read from this book
No,
here.
not off the top of my head. But what I get also is like the push and pull. The energy around the temperance card is like the pendulum swing too. So it's like the negative side of like going to one extreme to the other extreme. And so like finding the balance within both of them and using the water and the fire elements, it's like that makes a lot of sense to me of like this push and pull and extreme on the pendulum one side to the x to the next. So how do you find the ground? How do you find the side of the river that you're standing on versus it being inside the river or being the fiery expansion go outward? So that's
Yeah.
kind of the energetics that I get with the temperance card.
Absolutely. And so, what I'm reading in this book, it's talking about overcoming inner tensions and finding the way out of apparently unsolvable dilemma. So there's a lot of problem solving within the temperance. Like you said, it's about going this side and going that side and then finding that balance and that harmony in the middle. And that is Sagittarius's way of solving their problems. But we have warns against underestimating the difficulty of a plan or the depths of a problem, which makes me think of Stephen Forrest, right? Thinking if you don't hold life as valuable, if you just get caught up in the fleeting of the experience and the bigness, the expansiveness of it, you're not truly looking at what you're putting yourself into. And there was another thing too. Finding the balance between work and leisure, relaxation, overcoming differences, resolving conflicts, right? So encourages giving one's best to overcome contradictions or differences. And I think that is what Sagittarius is so great about. They can get out of their own way. They can change it up, but that's what they get tied to the change.
Yep.
100%. So temperance being their card, that's like the work they're here to do. They're here to find the balance, to find where do they really have to make a large effort, where do they have to shoot far, and then when do they not shoot, right? Just as important. If we look at the element card, that's the judgment card, card number 20, and that is just associated with fire, which makes a lot of sense because it is about the end of the day. It's judgment. It's about how does everything and all your actions and everything that you actually did, how is that adding up at the end of the day? And that's always on a fire sign mind.
Yeah.
Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, they're all thinking, what's the score?
Yeah.
100%. And then the Wheel of Fortune shows up for the Jupiter card, which really is showing our destiny and that there are things planned for us. And that is, I think, these cards being representing the element and the planet are not really representing Sagittarius itself, but it's things that Sagittarius pulls from. It's pulling from the idea that there's judgment coming. It's pulling from the idea that there's a destiny. And so they get caught up in like, well, if I do this, it's my destiny. There's something for me. I'm supposed to be there and trust that it is for me. And that, if you think the judgment does that up to 2, and that's the high priestess, which is just trust. That's all. There's all something you can't see behind the curtain. Don't worry what's behind the curtain, but it's for you and it's good. So keep going. But then if we look at what's actually going to be happening over Sagittarius time, we've got the 8, 9, and 10 of the wands. The 8 is always like a solution. Again, temperance, finding solution. That makes a lot of sense and 8s are always solutions. So every time we have a mutable sign, it makes sense, right? We're coming towards the end. So what's going on? And then the 9, where do we go from here? And then we have a 10, which is very much like, I'm out of here. But
And we're done.
and we're on our way. And so if we look, it's always helpful to just see what the planets are. Now that we know who Sagittarius is, in the 8 of Wands, we have Mercury coming to town. So if Mercury is all about thinking and perceiving and communicating and in the mind, right? Logic. And then we have Sagittarius, who is just like far-sighted. They are hopeful. They're looking far down the road. What do we have when we are able to Mercury look at things, analyze things, communicate with things in a way of looking way ahead down the road?
Which is the Gemini, which is your opposition. It's ruled, Mercury rules Gemini.
Yes.
So how interesting, again, the supporting planet, supporting ally is Mercury
Mm-hmm.
and Gemini. Like
Right.
I just love how this is all coming back to the astrology. Like as we are talking through the tarot, it is literally giving you the direction, the pointing direct to there.
Absolutely. And so what we see on the Eight of Wands is all of these wands coming in from the top left corner, coming down to the bottom right corner. So very much seems like they're flying through the air, like they actually are the arrow solution. And this is an aha experience. This is a sudden solution to a problem, flashes of inspiration, right? Setting off for new horizons, overcoming old patterns. I mean, this is like very Sagittarius of what we are just talking about. Encourages opening oneself for new perceptions and taking immediate action. And so, what I love about the Eight of Wands, they call it swiftness. It is solution. It's quick solution. It's making your choice, believing in it, and doing it, and going forward. And that's what Sagittarius is so good about.
Mm-hmm.
But then Mercury leaves.
Mercury says goodbye. I don't want you to be in your mind anymore and understanding it all. Now we're going to.
Now the moon's coming to town. And so now let's think about which already it's fire in the soul. So it's already knows that there's an imprint, that there's karmic energy, that we've had other lives. Like Sagittarius already kind of naturally knows that. So when the moon comes to town, it's going to start to become philosophical because it's a philosophical person about their soul. So if we read here, drawing on abundant resources, experiencing a flow of energy, anticipation, and inspiration. Now, sometimes for some, when the moon comes, it's a hard time. But that's why I want to point out we're already in our soul. So I think a lot of the mutable soul signs don't really mind the moon. It's good. So if it's a good thing, and it's, but then again, like this is saying so many good things, but if you actually look at the nine, it doesn't look that good. So this is where, we have to really break it down. This is what I like to do. Every single time I get hung up on a card, I just straight look at it. Let's just come back and look at it. It's a guy, he's standing there. The wands are stacked up like a fence. He's holding on to one, kind of leaning on it like it's been a hard day. And he's looking over at something. And nine is where do we go from here? So it's a lot of looking back to look forward. And when we're looking at our strength and you know, what we've put a lot of heart into, um, I think it's a very like 50-50 chance of whether or not the nine's going to be good for you because this is talking about strength and it's trusting in yourself. It's looking at everything. It's like, look at this fence I just made of all these wands. Whew, I really did a lot. But there's also like, I get from the guy, like, there's also this like, yeah, but nobody helped me and nobody was there. I did it all by myself. And I think the guy charged me too much. It's like, and he is suspicious when you look at his face. And again, that's why we were talking about Sagittarius is when we put the worth outside of ourself, right? He built the fence of wands because he needed it. Didn't matter who helped him. It didn't matter about that. That wasn't the point. But Sagittarius can get caught up in the way that the day-to-day actions and the people and the places and the things because their philosophical mind is constantly going.
Yeah, I think that it's also that balance. Again, we're here of like the push and pull. I really wanted somebody to come and help me, but I actually knew that I could do it myself. I know that I would really love to have additional help or I look back at this and go, oh, I'm so happy that I did this, but it really would have been nice if I had a friend.
Yes.
Like so it's this constant back and forth, I think that with the nine.
I'm saying so warns against letting oneself be flooded by delusions of grandeur. You go do something real hard, you do make a huge awakening, whatever, and you don't get the credit from the outside world, right? Maybe they don't care that you went on the silent retreat. And that can hurt the Sagittarius. That can be hard, because it's that illusion of grandeur. I could see that being like, look what I've done.
Because it's hard. Doing a
Yeah,
silent retreat is not an easy task for
right.
anyone, even if you're a Scorpio. Silent retreats are challenging your beliefs and all of that. So yeah, I mean, and then to not have anybody give you that standing ovation to say you did hard things, you did a hard job. That is a hard thing for a no, not receive the accolades. Again, that is also something that comes with fire signs. They're always looking for the accolades from the outside in versus I just did a hard thing and not caring about what anybody else says.
Yes. And so if we look at the cards and we go on to number 10, the guy has now gathered up all the wands and is taken off up the hill by himself. And that one they call oppression. And that's Saturn, which makes a lot of sense because Saturn is the opposite of Jupiter. I mean, even the symbol is a complete opposite direction. And so Jupiter is opening, Saturn is closing, expanding, restricting. And honestly, I wouldn't say Saturn is necessarily restricting as much as it's just boundary holding, it's unwavering. But that's the thing because Saturn's not necessarily bad. It's just showing you the lines, the boundaries, how that's showing you the score. And that's hard for someone who lives in the what could be and what is going to happen there. A lot of times they're what they're looking for and where their presence of mind is coming from is what could be. And that is hard for being around Saturn, who's going to go, no, you're right here.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it, them being the opposing signs and the
The
expansion
opposing
and
planets.
yeah, yeah, I did not even think about that. How interesting with Saturn being the principal or the teacher or the thing that's going to be that's going to hold you through the rules, right? And they're going to hold you to it, and it's hard. It's not usually Saturn is a little bit more challenging than Jupiter is. Jupiter is that expansion, but Saturn is a challenging space, but it's also here for you to teach you. I mean, as I've said in my chart, my entire chart is pointing to my Saturn in Cancer in the 12th house. So my entire life's work is to be in these conflicts. And then how do you work through those conflicts? How do you create boundaries? How do you stay in integrity within those realms? And so it's not, again, we've already talked about that, good or bad or right or wrong. It, Saturn gets a really bad rap a lot of times, but it is a choice. It's that choice space of, okay, you're going to be able to take a right or a left at this corner when it comes up to you, when there's some pressure and you're going to have to make a decision. And he decided that he was going to gather up all of his wands because keeping people out of wherever he was in the nine or keeping himself safe wherever he was in the nine, I am now going to have to make a decision. I'm going to pick up all the things that I just laid down and I'm going to make that choice of taking them and gathering it with me and taking them forward.
Absolutely. And so what they're saying in the 10 warns against, let me just read that again, or encourages recognizing one's own limitations and acting responsibly. And it all comes down to choices, like you said. And when we think about the opposer, Gemini, that 10 of swords, it's the guy laying on the ground and all the swords are in his back. And then this guy has gathered up all his swords and is heading out. So it's a very surrendering type of energy for both of these mutable signs, one air, one fire. And at the end, it's like this, the Gemini just gets overruled by all the thoughts and usually ends up just going from the heart, right? Or just suffers from, you know, not
Or
getting
just
their way.
suffers. It's
Just
fine.
suffers.
We'll just surrender and suffer.
It's that choice,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then in the 10, again, the choice to either be honest with yourself or just go back to the wheel and take all your toys and leave. I'm not going to play with you anymore. And that's the route of a Sagittarius constantly, right? And that's when they get stuck trying to go to that next best thing. And this is what it's showing every single time in that routine of, I know I have a problem. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to move. I'm going to move towns. Screw this town. I'm leaving. And that's what it is. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm doing all this and I'm moving and like I don't even care. This person didn't even offer to help, but that's fine because I'm moving and I'm out of here. But also exciting because now they're like, this is what I can do and I'm going to sell my house and I know the perfect person and I'm going to do this and I've got a contact. Like this is a good thing too, right? The nines, we said it. It looks kind of bad. There's some bitterness involved, but at the same time, the Sagittarius is going and working for itself. And then we get to the 10 and it's like, so what's it all for? Did you get to the new town and are you the new person and did you do everything and everything's perfect now? Or did you just get yourself into a bigger mess and now you feel like maybe you need to start a whole new career now that you're in the new town and the new town wasn't enough? And once they finally go, okay, let's just sit down and see where I'm at, since Saturn just came to town, guess we'll look at the books now until they come back to their 8 again. But if they can remember the temperance, the balance, right, of the solution, and also keeping in touch with there is a destiny, but we can't also get too hung up in it because always the 2, the high priestess coming in, which is tagging along the judgment. I know it's all for the end of the day, but temperance is the business card, the work they're here to do, to break it down. What are the resources you have? What are you able to do? Find the balance and pour the water from each cup.
Yeah, I love that. And constantly, yeah, that push and pull back and forth and then landing. And so again, the thing that can help with a Sagittarius and the fire in the air is your opposition. What is the opposite of that? It is your earth, grounding, and your water, feeling. Like remembering that that is going to be the way that you're going to balance out when things are happening, when troubles are arising or choices happening. Ground in. That is going to be the medicine for a Sagittarius when they want to just keep going perpetually, the next best thing. But no, let's take a moment. Let's sit. Let's feel into it. Let's see what is arising for us and then how to move forward with a plan next time.
And there you go, Sagittarius. If you're listening, it's easy as that, okay? It's as easy as that.
If you could just take all of the things that we just said and then wrap it up in a little nice little bow, it's super easy to be a Sagittarius.
We got it. I don't know what your problem is, Sagittarius. We figured it out.
Well, until next time, thank you again, everyone. We will be back with, oh, who do we see next? Capricorn.
Capricorn. And see, all the signs lean into each other because, here it's this time the Saturn is really showing the Sagittarius like, who are you and what do you have? And then the Capricorn's going to come in and be like, I know exactly to do with what we have.
If we could just use it like this, it is that easy. It really is that easy when we look at things. We make things so much harder than it is.
So
But we are being in this season, moving from that 10 of wands, we are getting to Capricorn, who's going to make the shit happen.
let's make it happen, Capricorn. All right, we'll see you next time, everyone.
Ciao for now.